Hello, Larson Halleck here. So it appears that some of my viewers didn't quite get what I was doing with the Virgin Chinee poem. So I'm gonna walk you through it, real slow like. Okay, first of all, let me read the poem I was spoofing, which itself was satirical, Bret Hart's Heathen Chinee. Which I wish to remark in my language is plain, that for ways that are dark and for tricks that are vain, the heathen Chinee is peculiar, which the same I would rise to explain. Ah Sin was his name, and I shall not deny, in regard to the name, what that name might imply, but his smile was pensive and childlike, as I frequently remarked to Bill Nye. It was August the 3rd, and quite soft were the skies, which it might be inferred that Ah Sin was likewise, and he played it that day upon William, and me in a way I despise. We had a small game, and Ah Sin took a hand. It was a euchre the same. He did not understand, but he smiled as he sat by the table, with a smile that was childlike and bland. Yet the cards they were stocked in a way that I grieve, and my feelings were shocked at the state of Nye's sleeve, which was stuffed full of aces and bowers, and the same with intent to deceive. But the hands that were played by that heathen Chinee, and the points that he made, were quite frightful to see, till at last he put down a right bower, which the same Nye had dealt unto me. Then I looked up at Nye, and he gazed upon me, and he rose with a sigh, and he said, "Can it be? We are ruined by cheap Chinese labor," and he went at the heathen Chinee. In the scene that ensued, I did not take a hand, but the floor it was strewed, like the leaves on the strand, with the cards that Ah Sin had been hiding in the game he did not understand. In his sleeves, which were long, he had 24 packs, which was coming it strong, yet I state but the facts. And we found on his nails, which were tapered, what is frequent in tapers, that's wax. Which is why I remark, and my language is plain, that for ways that are dark and for tricks that are vain, the heathen Chinee is peculiar, which the same I am free to maintain. So in reading that poem, did you get that truthful James and Bill Nye were being hypocrites? That the white men themselves were cheating at euchre the same as the Chinese man, before suddenly yelling, "We are ruined by cheap labor," and attacking the guy for no reason? If you didn't get that, you're not alone. A lot of idiots in the 19th century didn't get it either. I was attempting something like that. So now let us look at my poem, and do bear in mind that there was a very, very good reason why the image in that video was a screenshot from the Daily Stormer excoriating white women. The poem is written from the standpoint of James the Aryan Paragon, who one might say has the worst aspects of Whignat white nationalism and the red pill. He is racially awake in that he is a white supremacist, but he just can't get over his hatred of white women due to years of being rejected by them. So out of sour grapes, he claims that they are hypergamous sluts who fuck Chad and Tyrone all the time, and also they fuck dogs because I don't even know where that meme started. Also note that he refers to himself as being an Ubermensch and an Aryan paragon, despite the fact that the poem also describes him as being fat, physically weak, and overall unattractive. Also note that he makes up nonsensical metrics to prove that Asian men are inferior to him and that they don't deserve their women, whom James idolizes, seeing them as pure and submissive lotus blossoms who, most importantly, aren't those goddamn dog-fucking Western whores. Having spent his life being rejected by white women, it is implied that James exclusively dates mediocre-looking Asian women, who adore him by mere virtue of being a white man. It is in this scenario that James can feel like the white god he has always seen himself as being. Now, while you think about that, for no particular reason, here's a series of randomly selected Return of Kings articles. And hey, you would have to be an idiot to not notice that, well, a lot of Asian women do basically worship white men. Yellow fever is certainly a real phenomenon, but white fever certainly is one as well. And it is a running joke even amongst the normies that the alt-right loves them some Asian women, including, here's a shock, founder and proprietor of the Daily Stormer, Andrew Anglin. And not just him. To top off the trifecta of idiocy, the Virgin Chinee himself makes an appearance. And he is, of course, whining about breakfast at Tiffany's and 16 candles for the 10 millionth time, and blaming evil white men for why he can't get laid. You all know that I mock Asian sex bullshit a lot. James, the Aryan Paragon, and his friend, presumably Bill Nye, I didn't name him, see how much the Chinee hates his women, and they make fun of him for it, despite the fact that James and his friend himself hate the women of their own race, as illustrated by his invective against them, calling them hypergamous sluts and dog fuckers and all that. And therein lies the humor of the piece. I leave no stone unturned and I criticize all. I criticize racist white men who hypocritically lust after Asian women while still hating Asian men. I criticize homely Asian women who slavishly lust after mediocre white men. And I criticize Asian men who constantly whine about white male Asian female pairings instead of making themselves sexually viable. I mean, come on. You can't sexually outcompete these guys? I don't have anything against interracial relationships of any kind. I've partaken in quite a few myself, but I do hate rank hypocrisy and obliviousness to hypocrisy. And while they may be a loud and obnoxious minority, some white men are this disgustingly hypocritical. And the same goes for any combination. To cite one glaring example to any white men who talk like James the Aryan Paragon, the way you talk about and drool over and lust after Asian women, what would happen if you were to see a black man talking this way about white women? You'd lose your shit. No, don't lie to me. I know you would lose your goddamn mind. And you know what? It's perfectly natural to feel this way about your tribe's women, and it always has been. Amongst totally unlettered primitives, interlopers taking the women or the fear of cuckoldry are the single biggest sparks of violence. The get your hands off our women feeling persists even in the most highbrow of settings. Edward Said's Orientalism was in many ways an invective against European sexual exploitation of the Middle East, and perhaps his feelings were justified. Why don't you decide? But again, I am not against interracial relationships or sex tourism on principle. Just stop being a slobbering goof about it. I'm Larson Halleck, keep on training, and now a slightly ironic word from our sponsors. Wait, holy crap, an actual sponsor? Hello, gentlemen. Are you bitter and involuntarily celibate? If so, it couldn't possibly be your fault. It's all due to the machinations of those nasty, ball-breaking Western hags. Could there be a way out? You bet your ass. Eastern European women, straight from the FSU to you, ready to be swept off their dainty little feet. I mean, the guys surrounding her are all wearing tracksuits. Go to simplydating.com using the link provided in the video description. Sign up today and find your little diev. And remember, the more services you purchase, the closer you'll get to finding her. Simply Dating.